Okay, everyone, this is going to be our second video regarding your immune system. So this is Immune Volume 2. Okay, so last time we met, we were talking about your acute inflammatory response, and we had gone through some of the steps. And then we had concluded around talking about edema and what its adaptive value was. So again, we want to remember that inflammation is supposed to set the stage for repair and remove debris from the area of injury. And we want to try to prevent infection. Okay, so we want to keep in mind that your inflammatory response is designed to do these three things. This is its main end game, its main goal. Following your acute response, there'll be several secondary things that will happen, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So, for example, following the acute response, keeping in mind our goal up top, okay, ... what would you like to happen next? So first, we want to make sure that if there are any bacterial issues or microbes that are invaded the area of injury, we want to make sure we kind of clean that up. Remember, our third bullet point tells us we want to prevent the spread of infection. So we're going to mobilize phagocytes, cells that will, remember, cyte for cell, phago or phage for hunger, cells that will eat other cells, and we want to mobilize antimicrobial proteins. And again, this is designed with number 3 in mind. We're trying to make sure that if any infectious agents have entered the area of injury, that we have mechanisms in place to make sure that they are contained and that the bacterial issue or whatever it is that's invading the space potentially does not spread, okay? An example of an antimicrobial protein or a protein that will be mobilized in this space is something called interferon. Interferons, there's 2 different types. There's type 1 and type 2. We're not going to do that deep of a dive into interferons, but one of the things that interferons can do is protect cells that have not yet been infected.
Harper's coming to join you.
And that's really important. The other type of interferon, so one class can actually protect cells that haven't been infected yet with a viral issue, and the other one can kind of assist with killing viral infected cells. Okay, so why am I bringing these up as kind of a special example? Because interferon treatment can be used then for different types of viral infections. For example, something like hepatitis C, for example. Hepatitis is a viral infection of the liver. We could use something like an interferon-based treatment then to either A, protect the cells that haven't been infected with hepatitis, or B, kill off the cells that have been infected with hepatitis. So we can tap some of the things that our immune system does normally, and then we can use those things in a clinical setting to try to control certain infections. Okay. Fever. All right, so what happens when someone gets a fever? When someone has a fever, you have an increase in body temperature. We want to remember our thermostat is the hypothalamus. So when someone has a fever, we're essentially telling our body's thermostat that this is our new normal. It's essentially like turning up the thermostat in your house. So your thermostat in your house is set for 70 degrees. Your heating system is basically, you're telling your heating system that you want to regulate the temperature at 70 degrees. If you turn the thermostat up, That's your new normal. You're telling the heating system, I want to regulate the temperature at 72 degrees. So your normal body temperature would be 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. If someone, let's say, has a fever and now their temperature is 100 degrees, we're telling our hypothalamus the new normal is 100 degrees. So your body is then going to carry out mechanisms to make sure it can meet that 100-degree temperature, okay? Which is often why people get things like chills and they shake a little when they have a fever, because you're generating some body heat by contracting muscle, okay? Why does this happen? The release of chemicals called pyrogens. Pyro for fire, okay? These chemicals can be released by leukocytes, by your white blood cells, to generate a fever, okay? So if a cell has been exposed to a foreign substance, it can release these chemicals, and then these chemicals will speak to our hypothalamus and say, this is our new normal elevated body temperature. So this is a response to invading microorganisms. What's the benefit to a fever? It certainly doesn't provide a hospitable environment for growth of microorganisms, right? So the new temperature may hinder growth of microorganisms. And we all know how we feel when we have a fever. It's going to get us to rest, right? You feel run down and you rest when you have a fever. And that really gives, when you're resting, it gives your immune system a chance to do the work that it needs to do, to try to combat whatever microorganism has invaded the space. Okay, so that's going to do it for your innate immunity. So all the things we've discussed, your surface barriers, internal mechanisms, inflammation, that is all part of the innate immune system, okay? I'm going to stop there. I know this is a short video, but I want to separate it out from our next group of material, which is your adaptive immunity.